If years ago someone were to ask you how to stay out of prison, what would you tell them? What I would have told them is don't commit a crime. These days, if you want to stay out of prison, at least at a federal level, the absolute best thing that you can do is to be a friend, supporter, political ally, or relative of a president. I was astounded when I woke up yesterday morning and found that President Biden had, who I praised for pardoning Marcus Garvey just yesterday. I was astounded to learn that President Biden had issued preemptive pardons to Anthony Fauci and General Milley. And now, for starters, preemptive pardons used to be a pretty rare thing. I only know of one instance where it actually happened, and in that instance, I think it was warranted. But to pardon these guys, Fauci and Milley, that haven't even been charged with a crime, who, as far as I know, no prosecutor was seriously talking about going after, it's bizarre. What if they found that Fauci and Milley did commit a federal crime? Don't they deserve to have that case heard before a jury and have the opportunity to have either their innocence proven or an opportunity to have the public make their case as to their guilt? But then, as the day went on, the idea of these presidential preemptive pardons got even more sickening. Adam Schiff, the new senator from California, pardoned a guy that made a big deal that he wasn't seeking a pardon, that he didn't do anything wrong. Well, apparently somebody thinks he's done something criminal. Then Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger. Why not just give a blanket pardon, not necessarily even spelling out people's names, and say, hey, if you were a political ally of Joe Biden, it doesn't matter what crimes you committed. We are pardoning you for any crimes you may have committed. This is nuts. This is absolutely nuts. And then I thought it was a joke. But right before President Trump was sworn in yesterday, I'm looking at Twitter and I see a news release, that President Biden issued pardons to his brother, his sister, all sorts of relatives that I didn't even know existed. And they are now shielded from any future federal criminal prosecutions. Not future state prosecutions, but future federal prosecution. I think this is insane. This is such a crazy power grab. This is such an erosion of the power of the pardon and what it was intended to do. This is such a dramatic overstep in terms of the separation of powers. I'm astounded. Absolutely astounded. You know, I think the person who said this best as to why this is so outrageous was none other than New York's senior senator, Chuck Schumer, who, when he was the leader of the Senate back in 2021, and there were rumors about President Trump doing the exact same thing, said this. Here was Chuck Schumer.
The president seems intent on filling each of his remaining days in office with petulance, grievance, self-interest. The president's reportedly asking his staff about whether he can issue. President's reportedly asking his staff whether he can issue preemptive pardons for himself, his family members, Rudy Giuliani. There's a simple answer. No.
No!
No, Mr. President. That would be a gross abuse of the presidential pardon authority.
A gross abuse of the presidential pardon authority. And this is why I just can't stand Chuck Schumer. And honestly, he's very effective, very smart in some respects, but the guy has just no soul. Honestly, he is the biggest hypocrite on the planet. How, after saying this,
whether he can issue preemptive pardons for himself, his family members, Rudy Giuliani. There's a simple answer: no. No, Mr. President,
No.
that would be a gross abuse of the Presidential Pardon Authority.
After saying that just 4 years ago, how does Schumer say nothing today in the midst of this? How does that happen? I mean, it goes to show you that he didn't mean it, because it's just political opportunism, because that's what Chuck Schumer is, a political opportunist. You know, I remember 4 years ago, I was on the radio, I was doing this program when it was talked about that Trump was being urged to issue these preemptive pardons to his family members and to his friends. And I don't have to go and play the hypothetical game, because I remember what I said. I said, no, that would be outrageous, and Trump shouldn't do it. And you know what? He didn't do it. Even very close political allies and friends of his, people like Roger Stone, people like Paul Manafort, he didn't even give those guys a preemptive pardon. He made both of them go on trial, go get convicted. In Manafort's case, he actually went to prison. And then only after the criminal justice system had run its course and they were sentenced, they got pardons. And you know what else they did? They applied. They asked. They were looking for a pardon. None of these people, Sarah Jones Biden, Valerie Biden Owens, John Owens, Francis Biden, I don't even know who half these people are, James Biden, none of these people were even applied for a pardon. Adam Schiff, Dr. Fauci, General Milley. This is crazy. I don't know how this is not the biggest scandal in America right now. Because from now on, what President Biden has done here with this, what was it that Chuck Schumer said it was?
Asking his staff whether he can issue preemptive pardons for himself, his family members, Rudy Giuliani. There's a simple answer: no. No, Mr. President. That would be a gross abuse of the Presidential Pardon Authority.
What President Biden has guaranteed is that every president, starting with this one, from this point on, going forward, every president on their way out the door is going to pardon all of their friends and family members so that they essentially get a get-out-of-jail-free card. And that is a dangerous place to be, because if you're Donald Trump Jr., beyond your own ethical compass or your own moral compass, what incentive do you have not to commit a crime now? None. If you're Eric Trump, if you're Ivanka Trump, if you're Jared Kushner, if you're Barron Trump, and those are just the Trumps. I'm sure that, this extends to political allies. If you're Marjorie Taylor Greene or Nancy Mace or, Lauren Boebert, what incentive in the world do you have not to commit a federal crime? None. Because now that Joe Biden has so opened the Overton window in terms of what's acceptable public conduct, that this is now going to happen with every president. And this is not good news. I don't care whether you love Trump or you love Biden or you hate Trump or you hate Biden. It shouldn't even be a political issue. This is a watershed moment in American history, and not for the better. And I think it's had an immediate impact. President Trump, I think, was going to issue his pardon of a lot of the January 6th people yesterday anyway, but he pardoned everybody. As far as I can tell, I get the sense that before that Biden pardon, he was going to be a lot more discerning with who got these pardons. Now, I guarantee you, if you're a friend of Trump, you are getting pardoned. And whoever the next president is, whether it's J.D. Vance or Pete Buttigieg or who else is on the scene now? Josh Shapiro. From now on, every friend and every relative of a president is getting a preemptive pardon. And that's not the American system that I want to live in. What do you think?